Okay, so your master is trashed and your mold is bunk. What do you do now? I've got an idea. Okay, so first let's take a little bit of stock into what we've got. I use Monster Clay. Monster Clay is oil and wax based clay, and it can be reused over and over again, which is awesome. Just melt it down, just melt it down, and it just becomes a state in which you can use it again. This stuff, silicone, is pricey and a shame when it gets ruined. This mold leaks. It was meant to be a two-part mold. Obviously, that's not what happened. The two pieces bonded, even with mold release between the two halves. So what I'm going to do is salvage the original master. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to melt this stuff back down, and I'm going to cast it into the mold that leaks, and then I'll be able to pull it out and clean it up and rework this and develop it in a better way in order to cast it, and I'll show you guys that in a later video. This we can salvage to the point where we can chop it up and grind it up and use it as filler in future mold making processes. So we'll at least be able to salvage some of this, and it's not a complete waste of time and money. So my first step is I'm going to take this and some additional clay, and I'm going to pop it in the microwave and melt it down to a liquid state, and then I will pour it in here and get a cast. While that's melting, I'm going to reinforce the walls of the mold. I have some foam core. This will work for my purposes here. This is going to help hold the mold closed, not to deform the walls while it's curing, or in this case cooling off, so that it can harden. So I just use foam core and rubber bands. There are mold straps, which I will probably be investing in. They're not expensive, and kind of testing that out to see the differences between this process and the straps, to see if there's any benefit to using the strap. And I'll do that so you don't have to. So how many rubber bands do you use? Enough that's going to keep it nice and snug and leak free. Part of the reason why I had the leak was because of how I had to remove it from the now single or poured mold instead of the two-part mold. This wasn't an optimal cut. It wasn't smooth, and it was on the bottom. So there, that should be nice and snug and ready for our pour. You can see it's getting very pliable. It's starting to get a liquid state. We need this all the way melted down. So I'm going to pop this in for a couple more minutes. And this is going to be hot when it comes out, so please be careful. Okay, so now we have this all nice and nice and liquidy and goopy. This is going to dry or cool off fairly quickly. You can see on the side here, it's already starting to cool off. So it finishes up pretty quick. So now we just pour it in. And then we'll hope that it doesn't leak out the bottom. If it does, I'm sure we'll find out pretty soon. Not hearing any air bubbles. All right, so now we just sit and let it cool. It's going to take a while, probably an all-day process. So I'll stop the video here, and when it's ready, I'll come back and we'll pick it back up. Okay, so this should be cooled off enough now to begin to unmold it. Just to show you, this was the original piece. And there was some major flashing all the way around it. Some air bubbles got in where I didn't want it to get in, and it's just because of the way that I created the mold. And yeah, I don't even think that the two-part mold would have been the correct way of doing that. But I have some answers for that we'll address later. So what we're going to do now is take this thing apart carefully. I've already taken the rubber bands off and the foam core. So now what I'm going to do is just go ahead and finish cutting all the way around this to completely separate the mold. Go. So you can see it's got a little bit of flashing and some marks from the mold where the mold didn't go together exactly right. You can see, but this at the very least gives me a starting point where I can go in and refine it a little bit, add some additional details, reinforce some areas, and then set it up to cut it apart for a proper casting. So here are the two side by side. You can get an idea of what that is. So again, this isn't meant to be an exact replica. This is something that you can do if you don't have your existing clay master anymore. You wanted it, you needed to refine it, you needed to make some changes to it.
If you wanted to do a series of these with them each in a little bit different pose, you at least have a starting point where you don't have to recreate it all from scratch. You have a place where you can go and then repose it and then make your mold and then come back to this one again and repose it, make your mold. So overall, this was pretty successful. Like I said, it's a good starting point, so I can go in and refine it a little bit, and better luck making a mold the next time. So I hope you got a little bit out of this process. It's not too difficult, not too time consuming, rather than waiting for the clay to dry. And I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching.